Am I adulting good?
I just don't know what I'm doing. I can't breathe.
I feel so anxious.
This is what it's all about.
I just don't know what I'm doing. I can't breathe.
This is what life's all about. I just don't know what I'm doing. What's going on?
I don't understand.
Welcome to the Am I Adulting Good podcast, where we talk about all things self-help and the reality behind trying to adult to our best ability in this world. We're your hosts, Brianna, Kriss,
And I'm Caroline Savransky.
and we are both in community mental health, so we've seen some pretty interesting things.
Deciding to take on the journey of self-betterment is daunting and hard. Let's make the mistakes together and share what does and does not work. Because hey, are any of us doing anything right? And if we are, how would we even know?
We will cover a variety of topics like the old self-sabotage, toxic relationships, finding yourself after a breakup, or perfectionism. Special guests will be invited for most episodes to share their experiences and wisdom.
This podcast is aimed at anyone and everyone who needs a little bit of help getting their shit together and wants some company in doing so. We're in it for the laughs, but if we can learn something on the way, then that's good too.
Am I adulting good?
Hi guys, welcome to our very first episode of Am I Adulting Good?
Hello, everyone.
This is a very exciting endeavor that we have taken on board. And we first just wanted to make this episode really casual, more about what does adulting even mean? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to others? And just, give a bit of a background as to why we decided to take on this podcast.
Well, I think adulting means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Personally, I can say that I've got a few kind of, benchmarks for how I view adulting. And I feel I don't meet a lot of them. I mean, there's like societal expectations and then there's my own expectations. Like I still have trouble boiling eggs. So, I mean, we'll get into that another day. But this podcast...
To be honest, wait, but hold that thought. Boiling eggs is a very hard endeavor. Honestly, I still every single time look up online the best way to make either a runny egg or a hard-boiled egg. And there's so many different techniques out there. So it's a kind of a good comparison. We kind of search up a lot of how do we do this best when
That's
practicing.
That's really validating. Thank you. I still occasionally message my mom and I'm like, how many minutes for the perfect boiled egg?
Yeah. But there's so many different techniques. Sometimes people take it to the boil and then turn the boiling off and then put the egg in, or they put the eggs in when it's cold. I mean, there's so many different ways of going about it.
Whenever I message my mum for like basic life advice, you can just tell in her tone that she's like, I thought I was rid of you. You moved out years ago. Why are you still bothering me? I should be retired, living my life happily.
Though, to be honest, as a parent, you kind of make that lifetime commitment. And in today's age, you're lucky if your kid leaves the nest within the age of, your 30s or 40s. So you're doing quite well. You're out, you're about.
I don't think my parents knew what kind of life commitment giving birth to me was.
As a bit of a background, so this podcast, I had this idea of I love some of the podcasts that are out there that are all to do with self-help. And I thought, you know what, both Caroline and myself, Brianna, are in mental health in the community. We've kind of been engaging in a lot of different ways that people live lives, some better than others, different ways people adult and what's important to them. And I thought, you know what, we have so much knowledge and there's so much that is unsaid in so many situations that are not kind of brought to the limelight, that people have a lot of shame around or difficulties. And I thought, why don't we just join this bandwagon and create this podcast, which is then when I approached Caroline.
Yeah, and us both working in mental health, you're also in neuroscience. I have a degree in psychology. I want to approach self-help in a way where we're not trying to sell like we know what we're doing and we're going to help you and we're going to fix you, because we don't know what we're doing. We're on this journey with you. We're interviewing people. We're trying to figure things out. It's less of like a we help you and more of like a creating a community where we help each other.
Please help us. Please give us the advice. We'll share it.
We will give our email at the end of every episode. If you want to offer us advice, we will happily take it. You're a psychologist, you want to offer free therapy, more than welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Sponsor us, not through money, but by mental health. That's all we ask. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an endeavor and a half, something that, hopefully we'll see each other adapt through these episodes, and we'll be able to, join us on this journey, and we can take this together.
Maybe Brianna and I will be adults by the end of this.
Oh, that's a tough call. I don't know if we have 10 years.
Not just in age, but in mind.
Maturity.
Maturity. I think we're pretty mature. There's just
a lot of wisdom, a lot of mistakes to make.
If we're measuring wisdom and maturity through mistakes, I'm 80 years old.
Yeah. So I decided to go online and just type, your casual Google questions as to what is adulting. And the first definition that comes up, which is from the Oxford Languages, and the definition is, for adulting is a noun, and it says the practice of behaving in a way characteristic of a responsible adult, especially the accomplishment of mundane but necessary tasks. Firstly, a definition should never include the word itself within it. Saying a responsible adult, isn't that exactly what we're asking within this question? But I definitely do agree with that whole mundane but necessary tasks. That definitely does encompass a lot of what adulting is all about.
I'm currently looking at my laundry basket that has been sitting there for a week, and I haven't put all the clothes back. And I'm just thinking, if that's the definition of adulting, I don't have these mundane tasks down pat. I mean, I will occasionally have clean the whole apartment, do the laundry, wash my hair.
In a frenzy, being very frantic.
In a frenzy.
But is adulting, my question is, adulting letting the washing sit there until you do it? Is the adulting actually getting it done so it doesn't just sit there? Or is the adulting going out and getting yourself some fresh undies because you have none left? There's so many different ways to approach these situations. And this is what, we're trying to figure out.
I give myself a pat on the back that when I take the wet laundry out, I don't let it sit there and stink. And that's where I feel I excel. Through all my strifes, I never let the wet laundry sit there. However, when it's dry and I take it off the line, yeah, it can be a week. Sue me.
It's true. I think I'm prone to, I mean, we have a dryer, and that's especially good for when there's weeks on end of having rain. But there's always that point where it's, 40 degrees outside and you're lazy, and you have that mental challenge every single time when you take the washing out of the washing machine of, do I use the dryer? Am I that lazy? Or do I put it on the line because it's a waste of electricity? Think of the environment. But problem is, when I do put it on the line, it probably generally sits there for a good week, collecting cobwebs and other things. And I'm just like, I think these are more dirtier than when I put them in.
Yeah, I live in a building, and there's a building right opposite me, and I feel their judgmental eyes when my laundry has been sitting on the balcony for a week. And mainly what makes me take it off is the fact that they're judging me. They probably don't care, but in my mind they are. But aside from laundry and boiling eggs, there's things that I feel come with certain age brackets, certain milestones. I feel that society makes us feel we have to hit, like job, maybe a degree if that's in your field, marriage, kids, owning a property. That's where I feel a lot of my adulting isn't living up to the standard that society is expecting me to, even though I can make my own bed and maybe occasionally boil an egg.
But can you do the nurse's corners on the sheets?
What's that?
Exactly. So when I grew up, we used to make the beds, and my auntie would always teach me how to do the nurse's corners of how you fold the sheets under the mattress in a way that was neat and tidy rather than just like shoving it in there. These days, I don't even use a top sheet. It's a waste of space and it annoys me. So I just stick to the one that's fitted. That is me adulting.
I wish I knew what you were talking about, but my fitted sheet, it goes underneath the mattress and it stays and it doesn't move. So I'm pretty happy with that.
I hate the top sheet. I find that every time I use it, I wake up in the middle of the night and it's already like being kicked to the bottom and frustrating my feet because my feet need to breathe. So I don't even bother with one anymore.
Just a minute ago, you were on your high horse that I didn't know what you were talking about.
But I know it. I choose to defy it.
You choose to be a loser.
Choice or by nature, yet working that one out. But this is it. There's so many different ways to adult, to function in this world, to engage in life, to strive for what you want to, depending on whatever place you're in. And we just kind of want to, do a bit of myth busting and understanding what it actually means to adult to others and what it means to make your way in this world when, we leave the nest and all of a sudden we are shot into this place that you grow up with all these dreams and aspirations and hopes and you believe you have to be on this pathway, but rarely does it ever go that way.
Are you where you thought you'd be?
Oof. To be honest, I've been kind of milking out my studies because I don't know what I want to do yet. And I'll be a doctor in 2 weeks and that's where it's taken me.
Should we specify what kind of doctor?
Yeah, definitely not a medical doctor, a research doctor, kind of in the fields of psychology, neuroscience, and linguistics. But I still don't know if this is the pathway that I want to take. I don't know if I want to go off and cherish my love of arts and crafts and creativity, or if I want to stay down the academia path. It's all very confusing and a little bit overwhelming at the moment. I hope to finish and maybe work a few things out, or I'll just do what I'm doing and take the opportunities as they come and probably look back with regret.
Regret, the story of our lives. Just the other day, I was Googling tiny houses and thinking maybe I can quit everything, take my dog and run away to a tiny house.
Problem is that if there's no fences around and your dog is deaf, how would you get it back?
Yeah, my dog is deaf.
He's beautiful, by the way.
He's an American Staffy. I would build a little fence. I don't know how these tiny.
Just the one fence, 2 pickets, no more. Keep him contained.
He's so dumb. I mean, I would love him, but he's dumb. He'll just look at that one fence and he won't even realize that he can run away. I don't know how tiny houses work. I mean, if you buy a plot of land and then just put this tiny house on it, but sure sounds good sometimes when I'm slogging away at work for not the greatest pay in the world, dealing with people's mental health and life and duty of care, and just thinking I could just leave this all, run away, live in a tiny house, just make jewelry for Etsy.
I did that when I was 12. Made some jewelry, didn't get anywhere with it. Long lost dream.
Oh my God, I'm nearly 31 and I still just want to run away sometimes.
I think we all innately have that want at times, and we're always kind of, looking at the grass is always greener on the other side, but it's so important to count our blessings. It's something that I hope in doing this, we will realize just the opportunities that are around, how fortunate we are, especially being brought up in a first world country and having everything at our footstep. And it's something I'll get in at another time, but has really hit me as to the difference in the opportunities that I've been brought up around and how overwhelming that is compared to other people where just having a job is more than they've ever been able to ask for.
Good point. We're lucky to have jobs, especially during a pandemic. So yeah, that's a little bit about why we're starting this podcast. Not sure if it's clear or not. We're just figuring out how to be podcast presenters. But we're hoping to start a community with you guys, grow together, learn together, have a dialogue. That's why we'll give you our email, our socials. We can stay in touch. You can give us feedback on the kind of topics you want us to find people to interview on, the kind of topics you want us to talk about. And we're really excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. We'll be inviting guests, as you would have heard in our little bio and introduction, which I am stoked about. I think we did an excellent job with that. But, it's not just about us. As I said, we're here on this journey, and we'll be bringing in our friends experts in different fields to talk about some of the heavier topics in life. We're really going to touch on some things that are quite embarrassing for ourselves, but in doing so, hope to shine the light of understanding and bringing these things forward so that we can tackle them, because it's important to build your community around these things. And in saying that, I actually went out and I asked a couple of my friends of what adulting actually meant to them. Yeah, let's go over there.
Yeah.
What does adulting mean to you?
I think adulting is, for me, the significant things are financial stability, not necessarily security, but just like your ability to be financially stable and make sound decisions. Being able to maintain your environment as well, like at home, at work, chores, little things like that. Like how much does that affect you when you have to do the dishes or you change your shit? Or are you able to just maintain your environment? And then also just your integrity.
So you're basically saying it is impossible to achieve.
Well, that's the thing. It's something you constantly have to work towards.
Constantly working towards, and you'll probably never be where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think it's that always constant striving to kind of learn and be better. Not that you necessarily will become better, but at least you're trying. How capable are you as a human functioning? Yeah.
What about you, Lexi?
And I feel like Lockie, in his initial response, touched on this, but this was basically my sole answer. And it comes down to 2 words: personal responsibility. Are you taking care of the consequences of your actions? And this particular concept of personal responsibility ripples into all aspects of life: financial, social, career-wise. Like, are you thinking about what you're putting down and the shit it's putting out there?
It's a lot more elaborate than I thought you guys would say. I thought you'd just be like, bills.
Personal responsibility, bitch!
And that's a part of it, right? And like, if you're not paying your bills...
You're not taking financial stability.
I snorted a few lines of Coke last week and now I have no money to pay rent. Like, you're not displaying integrity, are you?
No, it's
know
also...
what I mean?
the way you live your life and the impact on others around you to co-inhabit spaces and environments and community.
Yeah. Cause and effect of your actions.
And I feel like you've just said cause and effects. I said consequences. Like, all of these things essentially distilled down to the one thing, right?
Responsibility for your actions and not having excuses. Maybe reasonings, but not excuses.
Indeed. It's like, yes, you might have legitimate reasons why this important thing didn't happen, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't matter. It's on you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
And also just knowing when to trust a part, that's really important.
Wait, did you say trust a fart? I got that so wrong on the bus a few months ago.
That was liquid.
I was working a job and it was auditing Sydney Transport, and I didn't realise that I had a gurgly butt, and I just thought it was a fart, and I had trusted it, and it was the wrong thing to do.
Never
and
trust the fart.
minute,
That's the thing.
I just let a little bit out. I was just like quickly tried to suck it back up to my demise. But then I got up, made sure the area was clean, went to the bathroom in the station.
It was
Really disturbing. Thankfully, it didn't come out the back, but it kind of pushed towards the front. Which was but it kept it contained. Yes! And so I chucked out the underwear, cleaned myself up, and I got on my next bus to work, because that is responsibility.
And that's what an adult does. I shat myself on the way.
I might have made
But I got bills to
I got
pay.
responsibilities. Let's fucking do this.
I did very much appreciate the sharting. I have been there, but I also would like to say you do have to trust a fart, because it only lets you down like 1 in 1,000 times. So
that 1 in 1,000 times where it let me, I guess, down heavily. But really taught me that I actually can adult when the time is in need. You know, and I got back on that train.
You cleaned yourself up and you can't.
I went back to work. That's integrity.
That's integrity. You know, if you were 3 years old, you'd cry, you'd chuck a tantrum and you'd go home. But you cleaned yourself up, you threw your undies away, I hope responsibly, not down the toilet, and you went back to work. And I respect that about you.
Thank you. I've always been a hard worker. And I think understanding the responsibilities for your actions is probably the key of adulting. Maybe a little bit too much information, but it's a key story.
I was talking to my brother and sister-in-law the other day when I was babysitting, and we somehow got at the topic of, you know, gambling on a fart and losing. And they were like, we've never done that. And my brother's 40 and I think my sister-in-law's like 38. And I'm like, what do you mean? Never in your adult life have you gambled on a fart and lost? As if you haven't. It's just a natural human thing. We've all just had times when that's happened. I can count on one hand how many times that's happened to me in the last 10 years. That could be saying something wrong about my bodily functions. But to say it's never happened to you.
No, it's probably one of those things where it's so traumatic that they just wipe it out of their memories.
Yeah. I think we need to be honest with the disgusting things that happen to our bodies as adults. Because then we feel more in sync with each other. Like, for example, I talk about my endometriosis very openly and vividly. And sometimes people are like, whoa, that's way too much information. And I'm like, well, there are so many women out there suffering with endometriosis that don't understand that what they're going through actually isn't a normal period. So yeah, I'm going to tell you that I've got the heaviest flow in the world and I have to wear a diaper.
And it's not my fault that I have a wide set vagina and a heavy flow.
Right before my operation, because since the operation, my period has been amazing. Seriously, girls, like, check out your period. Check out your feminine parts if you've got horrific period pains and stuff like that. But right before my operation, my flow was so out of control, I did have to wear a diaper. Otherwise, I would just bleed everywhere I sat. And that may be too much information for some people, but for some people, it might just be like, well, you know what? I actually have to do that.
Yeah, this allows, you know, our listeners to really connect with you. And I appreciate this. All of these experiences of ours. In saying that, guys, please send in what you think adulting is and what adulting means to you, and share us one of your sharting stories if you have one, because we would love to read it. And
please do, so we don't feel so alone.
It validates our experience.
One of the segments that we are going to be bringing in is our self-help corner, which is where we will be sharing resources when it's just Caroline and myself. As when we often have a guest on board, we hope that they will be our resource in itself. But in some of these lone episodes, when it's just us two, we'd like to share a little bit about our own findings and things that help us get through whatever it might be. Why don't we just go and trot over to the self-help corner?
Come on, join us. So we've got a little self-help corner, and I can't say that we're gurus at self-help because our lives are complete messes. I'm going to let you go ahead first with your resource. Your resource for today in our self-help corner. We've got bean bags, we've got scented candles. It's meant to be a sensual, intimate experience. Join us. Fucking go.
All right. So for the resource for this week, something that I've actually come across recently, because, hey, I've only been adulting for a short time at my ripe young age of 28. I have brought a Womankind magazine.
You've been adulting for 10 years. Sorry.
No, there's a big difference. Just because the law says I'm an adult doesn't mean I am mentally.
I flipped through that magazine when I was at your place the other day and I saw a couple of disturbing things, but please elaborate and show us the goodness of it all.
It just brings a lot of different, I guess, cultural elements about women throughout history and what they have brought, and there's just transformation in, I guess, So the magazine itself has different parts within it. So you've got something on history, you have an interview about some woman who has made it somewhere, sometime, often more modern, obviously, because it's an interview. You have something on artist, a female artist, you have something to do with science and nature and noble women and flourishing and literature. So it kind of brings you to all these wonderful things that women have done and their perseverance and discipline to get to where they have gotten to, whilst combating, I guess, sexism of the days and just the environment that they were brought up in.
Say I'm having a bad day, not sure about my womanhood, having trouble with boys, not sure how to explain what feminism is. How is this magazine going to help me with that?
It actually comes across with all these different perspectives. It's not just like, oh my gosh, women are the best, women do this, women do that. It's not. It actually puts things into perspective and actually gives a lot of equality amongst men and women, and kind of grounds you in knowing how, I guess, how to behave in the times of today and the different struggles that other women have gone through, but also the different successes that women have gone through. So it, in a way, it's good because it kind of makes you feel, oh yes, I am seen, I go through these similar struggles, but also, yes, these are my aspirations and this is the career drive that I want. And I don't just want to be popping out a baby and just because the society expects me to. It just has all these different angles and every issue is different and may have a different opinion in it.
Right. So it gives you a bit of perspective on, like, there's more to your self-worth than getting married and popping out a baby.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I sometimes dream of just, sitting at home and baking bread, which I already do half of the time, but like the second half as well.
You see, like, I'm at an age where people are like, do you want babies? And my answer is, I don't know. And they're like, oh, sweetheart, you're almost 31. You need to get your shit together.
Yeah, but 31's the new 21. You got another 10 years under your belt.
It might be the new 21 socially, but not biologically. Oh, God damn it. I've got like 2 years to decide what I'm going to do with my life.
But yeah, I mean, like, for an example, one of the stories that I read recently that just absolutely captured me, which was amazing, was it was in one of the previous issues, and it was about this woman born in the early 1900s, and she had quite a few children with this man. He was very abusive to her. He used to prostitute her out. When she didn't want that, she became pregnant from one of the clients that she was servicing, and he was extremely abusive. At one time, he had stabbed her 9 times, didn't go to jail, didn't do anything. Stabbed her 9 times. And she was pregnant with this child, and he once threatened her, saying something on the lines of, you must bring back 20 pennies or whatever it was back in the day, otherwise I'm going to kill you. So what she did is she ended up, whilst pregnant.
That's actually the article that I read when I opened up.
Really? Yeah, there you go.
It was something like, if you don't make $20 by the end of tonight, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if this magazine is for me.
Yeah, and she ended up killing him in the middle of the night because she believed it, because he was extremely abusive. And as a consequence, she was put onto death row. So they were going to kill her, despite the fact that he had stabbed her 9 times and the threats were real. All of a sudden, she's the one who was in the wrong for protecting her life and her children's lives. But because she was pregnant, they ended up postponing the execution. And during that time, word went around the world and it built up a big, I guess, movement. And she ended up getting off death row and ended up dying at the ripe old age of 50-something. But it's that's
not quite a ripe old age.
Back then it was.
Okay. What year are we talking about?
I've actually got the magazine in front of me.
I don't think you mentioned what year it is, because you're talking about 20 pennies. What is it, the 17th century?
Let me see if this is the actual right one.
I can't believe I opened that magazine to the exact same page, the article you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
And he was able to make $20 by the end.
1909. We're talking about like 110-ish years ago.
Okay.
That's pretty crazy. But yes. By the way, she was Angela Napolitano, an immigrant from Canada. Check her out. What a fantastic woman.
How do we check her out?
Just online history. I mean, I don't think she's going to be tweeting.
Can you say it more slowly? I didn't catch that.
Angela Napolitano.
Sounds like
Italian.
a woman. Yeah, there's totally a difference between getting into sex work from a perspective of, I understand my sexuality, I understand what it's worth, and I can make profit out of this, versus being forced into it, going into it out of extreme circumstances. But we'll save the whole topic of sex work for a totally another episode, because we've both got strong opinions on that, both passionate advocates for feminism and sex work. So we'll get into that in another episode, but just a little snippet of what I believe.
A little bit of a taster.
Little taste.
Check out Womankind. It's a fantastic philosophy magazine, a really good read. And yeah, it just helps me kind of bring myself back into myself and ground myself into the wonderful things that women have done across the centuries. How about you? What's your resource for today?
So I'm a big Instagram girl. And I don't mean like I post a lot on Instagram or I do a whole bunch of stuff on Instagram, but I find it an amazing place to follow really inspirational people. And today my resource is a Instagram page called endo.wars. So ENDO.WARS. So this girl's called Lisa. She's a 26-year-old girl from Melbourne. Her bio says she's navigating life with endometriosis, vaginismus, PTSD, and PPD. PPD is borderline personality disorder, a personality disorder that kind of deals with a lot of emotional dysregulation and can make life quite difficult. And she wants to provide support and awareness around reproductive and mental health. So I believe she is severely underfollowed. She's got 321 followers, and this girl posts the most amazing stuff, the most amazing information and resources about endometriosis and vaginismus that I feel like
What's vaginismus?
So vaginismus is like a condition with this very involuntary muscle spasm, and it severely interferes with vaginal intercourse. It sort of makes your vagina so tight and so unrelaxed that penetration is extremely excruciating. Even fingering is extremely excruciating. And it's quite easily treated by using, if you go to a sex therapist, they do provide you with these sort of instruments that slowly widen your vagina. It starts from like, you know, something the size of a tampon and moves on and on and on until it's the size of a, you know, an average penis. But it also needs to involve psychotherapy, because part of it is just this stress where your vagina just closes up, and it causes severe effects on relationships, because if your female partner can't have sex, can't be penetrated, can't be fingered, is an excruciating pain, it really puts a strain on relationships. And she's also working on informing people about endometriosis, which often has the same effects. Very extreme pain during penetration. But it has a whole list of other things in vaginismus. Extreme periods, extreme bleeding, it can lead to anemia, it can lead to entire body pain. There have been people that have had endometriosis grow in their brain.
Endometriosis in their brain?
Yes.
What happens in the brain?
So endometriosis is where it's a disorder where the tissue that normally lines the uterus grows outside of the uterus. So with endometriosis, the tissue can be found on the ovaries, fallopian tube, on the intestines, on the bowels, but in very severe cases, it makes its way up and can be found around the heart, around the liver, around the kidney.
Yeah, when it's not treated and detected early enough.
Oh my God, that's a whole different episode we're going to get into on endometriosis. This tissue bleeds, right, every month. So just like your uterus bleeds every month during your period, all of these tissues bleed, and it can be all around your body. And it's a huge inflammatory issue, and it causes chronic pain.
Do you know the amount of people who suffer from this in the world?
So endometriosis affects an estimated 1 in 10 women, right? And it costs the economy
billions and billions of dollars because the amount of time these women have to take off work, the lack of productivity that they have in the workforce, and
There's
it's
severe cases when it reaches to the brain. Do you know the statistic on that? Because I do not want to freak out the listeners as well.
no. It's extremely, extremely, extremely rare for it to go
But
up
still,
to
it's
the
something that
heart or to the
exists.
liver or to the kidney. Personally, my endometriosis grew in my bowels. So when I had the surgery, I had to have part of my bowels removed. But I will talk to you about my diagnosis of endometriosis another day because that was just a total fucking nightmare.
How does it help you to adult?
How does it help me to adult? In so many ways. So I'm just looking at one of her posts now, and she's got all these different colors of period, a range, a spectrum of colors of period and what it means. And what it means for your health. So say, for example, you've got a dull, dark red flow, you've probably got a deficiency and a cold stagnation. She also totally speaks about stuff that has nothing to do with endometriosis and PCOS. And this is something that hits close to home. When you're complimenting someone's weight loss, you could be complimenting their poor appetite, eating disorder or disordered eating, impaired digestion, addiction, chronic illness, acute illness, loss of a loved one, food insecurity, severe anxiety disorder. And I absolutely find it such an insensitive thing to comment on when someone says, "You've lost so much weight. You look great," because I lost a lot of weight after my operation because I couldn't eat. I was in so much pain and I was on so many painkillers and everyone was
but you looked great. No.
yeah, you know what? I did look great. I went down 2 dress sizes. That's great. But
I agree.
This page just covers so many amazing things.
That's another topic we'll eventually get onto is eating disorders and the thin ideal in our society and the damage that it actually does to both men and women. And we'll get into that in another episode, I reckon, because that's a huge thing to talk about.
And I don't want to isolate men with this page because if you've got a partner, if you've got sisters, if you've got a mother, it is so common that people don't understand that these excruciating periods, these huge mood swings, this fatigue actually isn't normal. But we really need to be on each other's page where there's 2 sexes in this world and a multitude of genders. And we just need to respect that probably half of the population gets their period. And 10% of that population has a very, very unhealthy, painful, excruciating period.
I guess the whole period thing and the pain and everything that comes with that and what it actually does to women, their emotions, their hormones, their functionality and all the rest is something that we'll talk about in great deal in the future as well, because there's so much to be spoken on that.
I've got a friend that gets her period every 2 weeks. From the moment it's over and she's feeling better, she's got a week until it starts again.
Body wants a baby. It's just churning out those eggies.
Not sure that body wants a baby or it's screaming for some medical attention. Yeah, follow endo.wars if you yourself just are interested in female reproduction, interested in just getting like a nice perspective on health, or if you've got a partner that you're worried about, or a sister or a mother. It's a very underfollowed page, but I find it an amazing resource when I'm having a tough day with my endometriosis or PCOS. It's just, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing the resource. It sounds like an amazing resource and tool, and definitely something needed to further understand 1/10 of our female population.
All right. So now for a new segment, which we call the Holy Trinity.
Woo!
Yeah, very exciting. So, as a sign off for each of our episodes, when it's just Caroline and myself, we will do one. When we have a guest on board, we will ask them to share their Holy Trinity. It is basically where we share a gratitude, a brag, and a desire.
And I think it's really important for us. Like, I know that every time we've done this, I find it really hard to think of a brag. And it's good to practice these things and practice sort of like what's it called? A
Self-actualization.
Self-actualization, gratitude, just to like get a bit of self-esteem in us, especially us women. You know, we're not used to complimenting ourselves. I know I can't take a compliment. So this has been a really good practice just to think about things that I can brag about and also grateful for and desires.
I mean, often we hear about how important gratitude is, which it 100% is. But a lot of the time, rather than just saying what we're grateful for, it's kind of important to acknowledge what we have achieved on the daily basis or in life, because so often we're trying to, beat to the race, or we're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to fulfill something, and we don't actually sit back and look at what we've actually accomplished and what we can be proud of. So that's where the brag is really important.
I'm going to let you start this one, girl.
All right. So for a gratitude, I'm actually really grateful for the end of this year. I've got a lot of writing to do, and the biggest part I'm grateful for, and this may sound funny, is the fact that both of my housemates are going to be out of the house, because it means that I can study and I can work and have the space to do that and just get into my zone with writing. With a brag, what do I want to brag about?
Us ladies, maybe people in general, do find it hard to find a brag. We need to be better at that.
I know. I'm really scraping my brain for it.
You've got a lot to brag about.
I think a brag, and I don't know if, it might be similar to one of yours, but is our opening bio for this recording. I am absolutely thrilled with it. It was a lot of fun to do, and I think we kind of nailed it, so I'm happy about that.
It's a great one.
And a desire, I decided to make the most of this time at home and to actually smash out the words and to nurture myself and get some good writing out, some good quality self-time in writing.
Sounds good.
All right, what's your Holy Trinity?
Okay, so my gratitude, I recently had my Christmas holiday cancelled. I was actually supposed to be flying to Queensland today and spend Christmas with my friends up there. Yes, it got cancelled, and I'm grateful for the fact that I've got a group of friends that I can last minute plan to spend Christmas with, people that are lost souls like me that don't celebrate Christmas, don't celebrate Hanukkah, and we kind of are just getting together at my place, having some food, having some drinks, and I just feel really blessed that even though last minute everything went to shit, I've got people to spend it with, people that I really love as well.
Yeah, we call that an orphan's Christmas.
Yes, it's an orphan's. I mean, I have a family and I could spend it with them, but we just don't celebrate Christmas.
No, I've done it a few years actually with friends before, where you don't really have any Christmas plans or anything, and group of friends just get together and have a bit of a picnic and an orphan's Christmas.
Yeah.
So for any of you out there who don't really have any Christmas plans with family, try to find someone to celebrate the time with, because regardless of it being, a commemoration of Jesus's birthday, it's a good time to actually appreciate the people that you're with.
It's also a great time to get involved in the community with volunteering or going to like a local shelter or a local community centre that gives out lunches and stuff. A lot of our clients at our job don't have any family, don't have too many social connections, and we give them like a list at the end of every year of places that they can spend Christmas. And I'm sure in your local area, there are places that you can do that too if you don't happen to be surrounded by too many people, or you just feel like giving back to the community. There's plenty of places to volunteer this time of year.
Plus free food and cake. Who doesn't love cake?
Mm-hmm. You might make some new friends. A brag. Yeah, so a brag. A brag. I find this particularly hard.
The more we practice it, the easier it will become, and that's, I think, one of the benefits of this.
A brag is that I have set my mind to do 6 months sober starting from February. Depends when this airs. I'm not really sure, but I'm getting prepared for it because that means my social life will be different. My social interactions will be different. I've kind of just let all my friends know, like, hey guys, from February for 6 months, don't expect me to drink. Really preparing myself, making sure people hold me accountable, making sure I hold myself accountable. And I'm quite excited and proud to take that plunge. I know it's a bit preemptive, but I know that once I've told everybody, I will have to be held accountable, and I feel too guilty lying to my friends to go back on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, It can't be like March and I'm drinking, because then I'll feel like I've disappointed everyone, and I'm too much of a people pleaser to go back on it. So
most importantly, disappointing yourself. But for that first month, I'll make sure to avoid you.
Oh, you think? That was genuine, like, is that because I'm going to be boring because I'm the life of the party when I drink, or at least I think I am.
Withdrawals and sadness and tears.
I'll get into the gym. I'll take lots of vitamin B. Your sister and my friend is a naturopath, and I will ask her for some, herbs, vitamins, really rejuvenate my body, brain, and soul. And I'm freaking nervous for this because I feel like there's going to be so many social interactions that I'm either A, not going to want to go to because I know I'll find them boring at like a pub, or B, people are going to avoid me because there's this sense of like, if people are drinking, they don't like being around someone sober, and it's their own, it's a reflection of how they feel about drinking mainly. It's not a reflection on you. So a lot of people understand that they drink excessively or they drink problematically, and then when you're sober, it's like this poignant thing, like...
Yeah, it makes them reflect about their own behaviours, and it makes them more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it depends on the people that you hang around. There's also some great things you can do, go play lawn bowls with friends and still hang around. But it'll also probably take time for you to feel comfortable in those situations, and also know that you would want to abstain, and that, you can still foster these relationships around alcohol. But yeah, I know a few people who have done a bit of a cleansing from alcohol, and yeah, it takes a little bit of time to adjust to.
Yeah, definitely. And I've also got my psychologist that I will be checking in with and just talking through, sort of the feelings that'll come up once you don't drink alcohol to numb all the pain. Because I've heard when you do quite a few months sober, your feelings become a lot more acute, your thoughts become a lot more acute, and things come up that you haven't felt in a long time. So actually kind of look forward to working through things that I maybe have suppressed with alcohol for quite some time.
Also, take up a hobby. One of the best things to do when you are coming off something, or I guess changing your behaviours, is to distract yourself with something that you do want to do and that makes you happy.
Oh, I love playing the drums, and I just don't make enough time for that. So got to get back into that. Actually, that leads to my desire. I've got an electric drum kit at home, and I use it probably once a week. And that is such a waste considering how much it cost. I mean, it's from Aldi, so it's like a very cheap drum kit, but I find drumming like meditation. When I'm using all four limbs, I can't focus on anything except the drumming. So my desire is to play at least 15 minutes of drums every day.
Ooh, maybe that can be a challenge, a month challenge.
A 6-month challenge.
6-month challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to see your progression over that time.
I am terrible, but boy, can I use all four limbs at the same time.
Cool. I think that wraps up our Holy Trinity for the day.
You.
Also, send us in your Holy Trinity, guys. We love to hear them. We love to read them, and we'll share what we can.
Thanks for listening to the Am I Adulting Good podcast. We hope you guys are getting out of it as much as we are and are learning a trick or two about how to adult. Please give us a review and a 5-star rating, like our podcast, and follow our channel on whichever streaming app you're using. It really helps us reach more people and build our community.
Hit us up on Instagram at Am I Adulting Good. Also, remember to send us your Holy Trinity and share your stories with us at amiadultinggood@gmail.com. Each week, we'll share one of our adulters' emails, and that could be you. Seriously, we love hearing from you. Keep doing your thing, adulters. We love you. We love you. We love you.
Am I adulting good?